What do you do when you have North America's busiest highway and one of the fastest growing metro areas on the continent? Well, you can't add any more lanes, but what Doug Ford says he's going to do is build a whole new highway. Toronto, Ontario is one of the largest metropolitan areas in North America, currently sitting at over 6.7 million people and counting. It is the center of trade and economics for not only Ontario, but Canada as a whole. Now, with this many people comes with a few issues, one of them being transportation and traffic. As we discussed a few months back, Ontario's Highway 401 is the busiest highway on the entire continent and one of the busiest in the world. Many things have been proposed to alleviate some of the mobility issues in this region, but on this video, we're going to talk about one of the latest from Premier Doug Ford. Enter Ontario Highway 413, a brand new freeway proposed for the GTA. No, not the Rockstar video game. We're talking about the Greater Toronto Area. So in this video, we're going to take a look at this highway proposal. First, what is Ontario 413? A report released by ACON on August 7, 2020 outlines the technically preferred route for proposed Highway 413. This new 52-kilometer or 32-mile freeway will feature 4 to 6 lanes and a transitway connecting Halton, Peel, and York regions. The route will begin at a freeway-to-freeway interchange between Highway 401 and Highway 407. It will arc north around the western and northern outskirts of Brampton with 15 proposed interchanges, including several freeway-to-freeway connections. Key features of the route include a curve northwest of Georgetown to parallel Old School Road, crossings of major roads like Winston Churchill Boulevard, Mayfield Road, and Airport Road, a broad northeast curve into Caledon, passing north of Snellgrove and Mayfield West. A new extension of Highway 410, which opened in 2009, will be bypassed by a new freeway-to-freeway interchange with Highway 413. And the final section will cross into the York region at Regional Road 50, where it will connect with the northward extension of Highway 427. The route will then continue east, crossing the Humber River, before ending at a freeway-to-freeway interchange with Highway 400. So why does Doug Ford want to build this highway? Well, the Toronto area is routinely plagued with gridlock, particularly along the 401. While this one isn't directly tied to the 401, theoretically it can take some pressure off of the western end of this route, as those in the northwest suburbs will use it over the 401 or 407. Doug Ford claims that it will save commuters up to 30 minutes of travel time. However, there's a 2018 study that claims it will save less than a minute. The administration has dismissed the claim in that report. The premier sees the roadway as getting ahead of the curve, as the Golden Horseshoe area is projected to reach over 14.8 million people by 2051.
Construction alone will keep 6,000 workers on the job and will add $1 billion to Ontario's GDP every single year. It will shorten travel times by up to 30 minutes per trip, helping people and goods get where they need to go faster. Highway 413 will protect our workers and will help us stand up to President Trump. It will deliver on our plan to build a stronger, more prosperous Ontario for decades to come.
According to a report from the Canadian Centre of Economic Analysis, if left unchecked, the annual cost of gridlock could reach $108 billion by 2024. Highway 413 is at the center of our plan to get drivers in the GTA and across Ontario out of gridlock. And we're getting it done, said Premier Doug Ford. In the face of U.S. tariffs and economic uncertainty, we're awarding critical construction contracts faster so we can get shovels in the ground on major infrastructure projects, keep Ontario's economy going, and keep thousands of workers on the job across the province. And so our next question, now that we understand what the highway is when will it begin construction and when will it be completed? So right now, a construction start date has not yet been announced. But the first construction contract has been awarded to Fermar Paving for an embankment at the Highway 401-407 interchange. The second contract to Pave Owl is for the resurfacing of Highway 10 in Caledon. The route is still in the design phase and property acquisition has not yet been completed, as there are some suburban homeowners in the path who are still holding out. Actual construction could start sometime next year. As for a completion date, nothing is known publicly yet about how long this highway would take to complete. And now the biggest question of all when it comes to any infrastructure project, how much will it cost? Well, for that one, the Ford administration has been pretty tight-lipped, redirecting and giving political non-answers on that front.
As you know, we're moving forward with the procurement process, and in order to guarantee the best price for Ontario taxpayers, we want that procurement to be as competitive as possible. And so we're going to leave it to the market to determine what that cost is going to be.
So while there hasn't been any official estimates on the cost, some are estimating it could be anywhere from 10 to 15 billion Canadian dollars. For my American viewers, that's around 7 to 11 billion US dollars. A huge number that is nothing to sneeze at.
What did it cost?
Everything.
But from what it looks like, everything is going full steam ahead on this project. There is some environmental resistance. However, it appears that Doug Ford will have his way on this one. And Ontario 413 is on the way. All right, guys, before I get my final thoughts on this highway project, I do want to see what some of the locals think. So for their reactions, we're going to go to where else but the YouTube comments. Let's take a look at a few of them. All right, guys, let's take a look here. Let's see what we got. What do we have? The top comment says, "It is painful to watch these photo ops that demonstrate how incompetent and out of touch these self-serving politicians are. Oof. The government spends trillions on pandemic and creating job loss, and when the economy finally collapses, the 413 lays incomplete. Well, there will be few able to afford to drive on it." Actually, I think they said it's not told. So let's see. Cut 30 seconds. Said they're out of touch. Says Dougie back at it again, helping his real estate buddies. And we have so much land that is underutilized in our cities. And let's remember, highways are the worst way to move large amounts of people. Ooh, let's see what this says. He says this is an outer rural highway for the GTA. This guy says it moves most people in and out of Toronto. And he says the suburban homes are going to make it just as congested. Well, he does have a point. But remember, like I said in my video, that people had an issue with, your local politicians are the ones who allowed the suburban home development. So it's another political issue. Said we sold the 407, we just need 4 trucks lanes. Interesting. 18 billion. Said people need help just to live, not another highway. Plus, how to use a highway when you can't buy gasoline. That is true. You got to pay rent before you drive a car. We need housing, but you can't build new communities because of trees, nor can you build roads to them. We need housing. Let's see this guy. Said, whom are you quoting? He says, trying to be sarcastic, but he does not understand that the 401 is the most congested highway in North America, and doing nothing does not fix the issue. This is true. You can't just do nothing. There are several examples of this around the continent. Doing nothing doesn't work. So the 401 was the Outer Belt Highway, and they thought it was never going to be congested. Then the city, through zoning, let it sprawl way beyond the 401. And he says the lessons are the highways and suburban sprawl never work. Always promise there's more housing, less congestion. Then the opposite happens every single time. Now that is an interesting point. He said, what a joke, no cost estimate, it's ridiculous. And Natural Canadian says we do need more highways and subways in the GTA and Southern Ontario. Let's see what the responses were to that. Okay, looks like they're agreeing with him. And he says replace the 401 with the massive GO train, quad track, 12 carriages, massive capacity. Ooh. This one says why such a small highway? I think Rick doesn't realize that this is just going to be this is just the beginning. This is eventually, when this does get built, don't be surprised that eventually it fully parallels the 407. He says, expect them to sell it. All right. I think that's enough of the comments. Oh, high-speed rail. Absolutely. Yeah, Ontario's actually, the 401 will probably be a good place for high-speed rail in Canada. Literally, no one asked for this highway to be built. No one asked you to comment. Ontario can't expand our. Okay. All right. That's the reaction. All right, guys. So, final thoughts and conclusions on this highway. Well, first of all, as far as it getting built or not, I think it's kind of inevitable with the population growth in the greater Toronto area. And to illustrate what I mean about that, I want to show you guys the map here. So, if we take a look at Toronto, or Toronto, like they say in Canada, you see the 401 and the 407. The 401, of course, is the deep red route. 407 is the one here that you see in green. And it's green because it's a hefty toll to drive that route. Now, if you look over here in the northwest where this highway is going to run, you kind of see the dividing line to where the suburban development stops for now. And what do you see, guys? What do you see? We see the same thing that we see in the United States. Seas and seas of single family homes. Endless seas of single family homes. So as more people keep moving to this area, and I'm not as 100% sure on how politics work in Canada, but I'm sure that local governments approve or deny housing permits. So as long as the local governments keep approving these types of developments, guys, you're going to need more roads. You're going to need more lanes. And as we can see, it's coming. There's more. Now, I saw some videos, some people were complaining about the farmland getting overrun. Well, the farmland's getting overrun anyway, because I'm pretty sure that all of these suburban homes used to be farms. So I'm not the camp of saying that the road shouldn't be built. My biggest issue with the road is this whole vague thing around cost. I've never heard of this before. In the United States, any public works project, which means highways, rail, any type of transportation infrastructure, building an airport, anything that's using public money, the public can see how much it costs, and the politicians have to communicate that to the public. But apparently in Ontario, that is not the case. The premier can move ahead with this project without actually laying out the costs. So I don't like the lack of transparency when it comes to informing the public how you're going to spend these public dollars. But like I mentioned earlier in the video, I think this is a new outer bypass around Toronto. And as long as these massive seas of single family homes keep getting approved, you're going to keep building more and more highways. So this is inevitable. So Toronto, eventually at some point, it will have 413, it will have 407, it will have 401, and then it will have the Gardiner Expressway. So we got all these highways going east to west across Toronto. So, and the sprawl will continue. Now on the front, now someone in the comments did mention something that I don't want to touch on real quick, and that is high-speed rail. Now there aren't that many places in North America where I think high-speed rail is feasible, but the 401, since Ontario's population is in this narrow strip close to the US border, it actually seems like it could be a good potential location for high-speed rail. Maybe Ontario should look into that. I know the capital costs are pretty high, but that doesn't seem to be on the docket. So for now, my Canadian friends, enjoy Highway 413. And you let me know in the comments if you think it's going to help with congestion, or do you think it's another catalyst for additional suburban sprawl? Personally, I think it's going to help. So it'll help in the sense that there will be some people who will use 413 over 407. So this could eventually become an alternative 407. And I'm pretty sure that the owners of 407 are not too happy about this highway being built. But that's all we got on 413, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you on the next one.